Texas pulls away with another victory late, 29-26 here in Fort Worth, here with Chip Brown and Eric Henry of Horns 24/7. Fellas, this came down to 3rd and 12. Quinn Ewers throws a deep ball to Adonai Mitchell, a play that, Chip, you were saying potentially saved Texas's season.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't have come down to 3rd and 12 from the Texas 13, but it did. And TCU had just called timeout thinking they're going to get the ball back with a chance to either tie or win the game. And Quinn Ewers, my God, Texas Longhorn Nation, you're thanking your lucky stars that Quinn Ewers was back for this game, because he threw a perfect pass to A.D. Mitchell, who beat the coverage 35 yards down the field. Texas can run out the clock at that point, and woo, another one saved at the bell.
Saved at the bell, you mentioned, really leading up to the bell. A very tough fourth quarter for the Longhorns. They get outscored 20-3. It really seemed like TCU had all the momentum, and that's why we said that 3rd down and 12, had the Longhorns not gotten that, TCU very easily, with the momentum they had and the way they were moving the ball on offense, could have marched down the field and tied or won this game. Eric, what was it in this fourth quarter that changed for Texas?
Well, if you really want to say what changed for Texas, I think you have to look at some of the play calling. I'm not necessarily second-guessing Steve Sarkisian in the play calling. I understand if you're going to be all gas, no brakes, then you got to be all gas, no brakes, right? But with that being said, trying to nurse a 20-point lead, that is, you can't, for a second straight week, find a way to let another team back in the ballgame. So if that's bleeding the clock with Jonathan Brooks and C.J. Baxter, and that's what you have to do at the end of the day, I think that's the biggest thing that let them back in the ballgame. We talked about it throughout post games this year. Momentum shifts. When you give teams, especially at home, an opportunity to get back in the ball game with a momentum shift, you see what can happen. So again, I'm not necessarily mad at wanting to, as we saw, throwing out of your own end zone, getting some room and trying to create some room for your offense. But at a certain point in time, you can't have another 20-point lead evaporate. And that, in my mind, is a big difference when you talk about play calling.
Yeah, and if you go back, really, they got set up for failure in the fourth quarter. In the third quarter, even though there was no score in the third quarter, TCU held the ball for almost 11 minutes. And as Eric said, you had that situation where the defense makes a great goal line stand. Texas gets the ball at the 2. They trust Quinn Ewers to throw the football out of the end zone. He hits A.D. Mitchell for 20 yards. Okay, at that point, start pounding them with the running game. They only ran it 3 times in the third quarter. They were averaging 6 yards a carry. They threw it 8 times. They threw it on 3rd down. They threw it on 3rd and 1. They threw a bubble screen to Jonte Cook. Xavier Worthy missed his block. Jonte Cook almost got decapitated on the play, lost 3 yards. The Texas offense was not helping the Texas defense. TCU holds the ball for 11 minutes in the third quarter, wears down the defense. Suddenly, they've got some tempo, they've got some rhythm. In the fourth quarter, the defense is on its heels.
And Tommy, just to add to Chip's point really quick, that's why I mentioned, I'm not necessarily upset with if you want to be all gas, no brakes and throw, but to Chip's point, he's mentioned it's the timing of some of those throws, right? If you want to throw on first down, early down, that's fine. But eventually, if things aren't working out and putting you in favorable down distance situations, you got to bleed the clock.
Well, and by contrast, J.J. McCarthy today, Michigan's quarterback, I don't think he threw one pass in the second half. They ran the ball. They just ran the ball down Penn State's throat. I thought that's what we were going to see tonight. Third quarter, this game got away. And Steve Sarkisian wanted to throw the football. Quinn Ewers has a beautiful arm. We know that. It wasn't perfect for Quinn. He was money when they had to have it, though. And that's all that matters right now.
So Texas outscored in the fourth quarter, and then another big story in that final frame. Jonathan Brooks, their star running back, goes down with an injury, kind of limped gingerly off the field with some help to the sideline on his own power. Steve Sarkisian saying in the post-game press conference that they don't really know right now. They'll get him checked out in Austin, and we'll know some more in his media availability on Monday. Fellas, no need to say it, but if Jonathan Brooks is out for an extended period of time, that's obviously a huge loss for this Texas team. And, they've been running the ball so well with him. What do we expect now?
Well, I mean, this is kind of the big thing that I am interested about. Chip, curious to get your thoughts on this. C.J. Baxter was named the starting running back out of camp, right? And it's a big if. And Steve Sarkisian did say, let's get JB back to Austin and see what happens. But has C.J. Baxter grown as a running back over the last 8-9 weeks? I think we still see flashes of the explosiveness, but we see it in a change of pace role, in a reserve role, right? We don't see it with him being the number one back. So I think the big thing, if Jonathan Brooks has to miss some time is, have we seen some growth from him? And it's a big question mark.
Yeah, and the thing about Jonathan Brooks that you just don't appreciate is how patient he is, his vision. He doesn't go down at first contact. He has great contact balance, and he catches the football. I mean, once again, he went over 100 yards tonight, but 7 receptions? I mean, the guy just makes plays, and CJ Baxter, I think, has shown growth. He's healthy, but he doesn't run as tough as Jonathan Brooks. I mean, that guy comes out of piles, and that's a big deal. I mean, going to Iowa State next week, Iowa State, the best defense in the Big 12. You got to have all your weapons. So right now, you're hoping that Jonathan Brooks, this is not a serious injury.
The ability to make the first man miss, Chip, especially with this offense needing to stay on schedule, that is huge. So we'll have to see again if Jonathan Brooks is not available. That's a big part of Texas' offense that may be missing.
Like Steve Sarkisian said, we'll learn some more about that on Monday. Today, though, we talked about him a little bit. They do get back Quinn Ewers. You could tell that was massive for this offense. Really, not sure if Texas could have won this game with Malik Murphy. I think it's fair to say, considering what we saw from him in his 2 starts. Nonetheless, Quinn Ewers is back. He goes over 300 yards passing, had some good plays, had a couple of iffy plays. That first deep shot was intercepted, and then Jordan Whittington comes up and makes what Steve Sarkisian says is a game-changing play. But overall, I think having Quinn Ewers back, you feel a little bit more confident going into these final 2 weeks in games that you know you're going to have to win to clinch a Big 12 title with.
Yeah, I mean, Quinn Ewers, what can you say? I mean, he throws the deep ball interception. They go right back to that play. After Jordan Whittington makes this unbelievable, forced fumble, recovered by Xavier Worthy, he goes right back on that same deep ball for 45 yards to Xavier Worthy. It ends up setting up a field goal. And the 3rd and 12, that play, as Adonai Mitchell said, who made the catch on that play, this dude is a dog. He is a soldier, and he came through. Because this place, Amon Carter, was off the rails. They thought they were going to get that football back after, they expected Texas to blow the 3rd and 12. When Ewers said, not today. And, he was really good in the first half, building that 26-6 lead, Eric.
Chip, the thing that I was taking note of in the ballgame is Quinn's efficiency with the football and taking what was there, right? I think that can be mistaken by some people as being check down Charlie or not want to push the ball downfield. Those things matter, right? I said to you on the flagship podcast that Malik Murphy in 70 attempts this year hadn't thrown the football away. Not only is it not throwing the football away, sometimes it's not having that efficiency taking what's there underneath. And the majority of Quinn Ewers' 33 attempts were underneath, taking what's there. Those things help the offense stay on schedule, Tommy. So that's a big thing, having Quinn Ewers back. I mean, we talked about Xavier Worthy, right? We have 10 catches tonight on 14 targets. Well, we know that the past 2 weeks, Xavier Worthy had 24 targets and only 9 receptions, right? So those little things that just keep the offense rolling and keep the offense on schedule, those things matter. And again, if Jonathan Brooks isn't going to be available, having Quinn Ewers and his efficiency, it takes that to even a more heightened level of importance for Texas' offense.
And his throwaways were beautiful because he didn't get sacked and aggravate that AC joint sprain. That's a painful injury. It's not going to go away. He's going to have to play with it the rest of the season. He was smart. Those throwaways were beautiful. And as Eric said, we hadn't seen those throwaways the last couple of games, and that was a big deal.
Yeah, Ewers stays clean tonight. He was not sacked. All right, fellas, we're going to close it out, as always, with our offensive and defensive players of the game. We'll start with offense. Chip?
I mean, Quinn Ewers and A.D. Mitchell, 3rd and 12. It's a potential season-saving play. Wow. That's all you can say, because it shut the door, finally, after being outscored 20-3 in the 4th quarter.
Here's my, play of the game. Let's show some love to Xavier Worthy for all of the criticism you could say of Xavier Worthy last year, right? Was he fully invested? Some of the drops, and then in the broken hand. Chip, this guy always talks about Jordan Whittington and the effect that he's had on him. I think you saw it on that play when Quinn Ewers throws the interception. Jordan Whittington races back to strip the TCU defensive back, and who recovers the fumble? Xavier Worthy. That, to me, in my mind, just encapsulates in terms of an offensive play, something that you really have to build on.
And he dove headfirst into a pile to recover that fumble. That was a big time play.
Yeah, Xavier Worthy, not the biggest guy in the world, but he showed that he was willing to put it on the line tonight. My offensive player of the game, I'm going with Jonathan Brooks. Over 100 yards on the ground again, and he caught the ball really well, like Chip touched on as well. All right, defensive player. Eric, you start us off here.
I'm going to go with Jalen Ford. I mean, Jalen, in my mind, again, just being the leader, being that middle linebacker, being the captain of the defense. 9 tackles, led the defense tonight. And even though he didn't have any splash plays, I just think his excellence in really kind of keeping that defense together, and they've talked about the culture, right, how those things make a difference. I'm going with Jay Ford as my defensive player of the game.
Yeah, I mean, Tavondre Sweat, to me, just continues to set the tone. I think he had the first sack of the game. He nearly had another sack. They didn't give up 100 yards rushing again. Byron Murphy a close second, but man, T. Sweat, he just sets the tone for them.
I'm going to take this a little bit differently. I'm going with the entire defensive line. I think that they deserve the defensive player of the game. Like Chip mentioned, Texas has been able to stop every single team they've played this year on the run, it seems like, right? Nobody's able to run on Texas. They do it again tonight, and they flash the pass rush a little bit. Tavondre Sweat gets a sack. Byron Murphy gets a sack. And Trill Carter gets a sack as well.
Strip sack.
Yeah, absolutely. And Byron Murphy touched on that in the post-game press conference as well, said that he was proud of his guys.
And those guys were huge in the goal line stand.
Absolutely. 29-26, your final score. Texas 9-1 as they head into Ames, Iowa next week for a tough matchup against Matt Campbell and the Cyclones. For Eric Henry and Chip Brown, I'm Tommy Yarsh. Thanks for watching on the Horns 24/7 Instant Reaction. We'll see you next time.